Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. All right, let's go to Germany.
What?
Yesterday morning, it was the Indianapolis Colts getting the 31-25 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Colts moved to 8-2. Falcons, fourth straight loss, now 3-6. You look like you want to say something.
Nope.
Colts get the win.
They do.
In overtime. A walk-off touchdown for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Who finished with 32 carries for 244, 3 touchdowns, including that 83-yarder. Started out as offensive fireworks, both sides of the ball, kind of. I mean, they scored a lot of points. One came, because of a strip sack on Michael Penix, but
fireworks.
It was a lot of points. Then they stopped scoring for a little bit until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that first touchdown, Jonathan Taylor tied Edgerrin James for the most Colts rushing touchdowns in history. The Colts have this fascinating history of running backs where they've had like half of the all-time great running backs in NFL history,
for 5 years.
None of them lasted more than half of their career with the Colts.
It's so true, right? Eric Dickerson,
Falk. Marshall Falk, Edgerrin James, now Jonathan Taylor. He'll ship off next week or something. Like they have all these Hall of Fame running backs, but they all have half of their career there. And then the other half with the Rams, weirdly. Like, they just split time with the Rams.
Jonathan Taylor to the Rams next year.
Yeah, so they're like, as much as they've got this insane list of running backs, the records aren't actually that high because you're only dealing with half the career of any of these guys.
Look, I was saying last night, if you want to play the MVP game and you want to make a case, right? Because I know our running backs don't matter friends would say, well, Jonathan Taylor didn't do this until Daniel Jones got
Not just
there.
Would say, have already said.
This wouldn't happen if, once Daniel Jones got there.
Right.
But then you could say, well, Daniel Jones has kind of regressed back a little bit these last couple. He's putting the ball on the turf. We got some stats on that in a minute here. This would be your case if you want to play the MVP game for Jonathan Taylor, 244 yards, including, again, the 83-yarder that was going nowhere. That's the one thing about running backs and their value and what's like Saquon Barkley did last year is when you create 60-plus yard touchdowns, in this case 83-yard touchdowns out of nothing,
right?
Incredible value on those plays. And I know you get handed a million other runs that go for 2 yards and -1 yard and 4 yards, and it's like, oh, negative EPA left and right. When you create 83-yard touchdowns, as Jonathan Taylor did, and the way he's running with power, running with vision, running with top-end speed, there's something to that. So if you want to make the MVP case, this would be the game that you lean on because it wasn't the finest showing for the passing attack in this one.
No, it wasn't. Daniel Jones didn't have the best game at all. Now, the problem is it came against the Falcons defense, who were just confusing, right? They've made Josh Allen look terrible this year in a game. You're like, well, is that what they're capable of? Is this what we're dealing with here, that this Falcons defense is so good that it can turn any quarterback into a rough outing? Or are they the defense that didn't do anything against much lesser competition? Like, it's hard to know what the level set is for that. But, this is multiple games where Daniel Jones has not looked amazing, but you have a Jonathan Taylor who can pick up the slack. You have Alec Pierce, who's inevitable. At some point, Alec Pierce is going to have a bomb for a touchdown. This one, I think it was only 30.
Only 37, Sam.
But 5 more for being in the end zone. Like, it was halfway
42 air yards of ball travel from the line of scrimmage. Yeah.
42, we'll call it a low end Alec Pierce, but more than the 37 that it gets listed as.
Yeah, it was kind of a jump ball into double coverage. Pierce makes the play that put the Colts up early. Daniel Jones finishes 19 of 26 for 255, a touchdown and a pick, 100 passer rating. The interception was right before the half. I think the troubling number.
Weird interception.
It was. I don't know if he was expecting something different from the receiver, but it was well underthrown. Didn't really hurt them. It was right before the half, and they may have had a chance to kick a field goal at the end of the half. But took a potential points off the board.
Yes.
I think the concerning part is the 7 sacks for Daniel Jones, and then the fact that he fumbled 3 times for the second straight week. So he's now fumbled 6 times
in 2
weeks.
They were old school Daniel Jonesian plays where it's like the one of them in particular where it's like he knows that guy's free. Like, it's a free rusher. It's a screen. It's a busted play. Somebody jumps all over the screen. Jones knows the free guy is there, and he sort of drifts away from it and then just doesn't do anything with
Double
it. Just
pumped instead of killing it.
Right.
He could have killed the screen.
Could have killed it, could have thrown it away, had to get rid of the ball, knew he had to get rid of the ball, and instead held onto it and caused a sack. I mean, that's a play Daniel Jones made all the time with the Giants. And you're like, Daniel Jones makes a bad offensive line worse. Now, the Colts don't have a bad offensive line, but that's a play that typifies, like, if you have a bad offensive line, Jones is going to cause those plays, which make it even worse, and suddenly you've got this disaster in your hands. The Colts don't have that. But that's a Daniel Jones play that hasn't gone away just because he's now with a better situation. Like, those were problematic plays.
I went through all 7 sacks because I think it's worthwhile, right? We're talking about an 8-2 team here, and can the Colts keep it up? I think high level, the fact that they get the win, and look, they're that good offensively that the quarterback can play a less than stellar game, and they can still put points.
And they put up 500 yards, so it's not like they got nothing.
I'm just telling you. If the standard is, it's the same conversation as the Broncos. They're on a bye now, and their next game's against the Chiefs in 2 weeks. That's supposed to be their big test, right? Everybody's playing their Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Broncos, Colts coming up here. Got to beat Kansas City. Got to prove that you belong. Got to play better, I would say, at the quarterback position. But there was early on, he's scrambling, he fumbles along the sideline on one of the sacks. But I'm going to make this statement too. Like, the offensive line, pass pro wise, was fine.
Yeah.
In a 7-sack game, right? So this is what we're saying. Jonathan Taylor got beat for a sack. That's not the offensive line. That was a clean win up front. I would say that led to a sack for Daniel Jones. Then he started drifting a little bit, right? He got strip sacked by Jalen Walker, and he drifted back to about 11 yards. When you do that, you lose leverage on the tackles. Started to get a little happy in the pocket and moving around, and that would be my concern right now for Daniel Jones, plus the screen one that you talked about that he didn't bury.
The offensive line right now has been charged for 2 pressures. They basically pitched a shutout, and Daniel Jones was sacked 7 times.
I'm giving you the answer. I'm giving you what happened here. A blitz on a screen, that's not on the offensive line. That's on Jones. He stepped through and lost 2 yards on 3rd and 10. Everybody was covered. It was kind of a coverage sack, so not really on the line. There was another one where everything was covered down the field in man coverage against a blitz, and he didn't really have an outlet, so he, happy feet and drifted. He didn't throw it away. One was fake. It was just like a broken play. I don't know what exactly happened, and Jones just falls over. So, look, I'm not saying he was awful. He made some big throws. He had a huge throw to Tyler Warren.
Beautiful pass.
In overtime. I'm not saying it was
catch, by the way. There's a lot of time, like some of the passes, or some of the catches, rather, that a lot of announcers try and make seem are incredibly difficult. Actually, they're not that bad. It's other ones that are more problematic. The one that Tyler Warren caught on that on that dime that Daniel Jones threw, that's exceptionally difficult. It's coming at like this weird 45-degree angle over his head, and he just sort of sticks out the hands and plucks it out of the sky. Absurdly hard catch on the run, and he just made it like it was nothing.
He's so smooth, man. I think he makes a lot of things look easy. He had another long catch and run on a screen, like the weekly deal. Tyler Warren is an absolute difference maker. He had 8 catches for 99 yards. And again, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to pick on Daniel Jones. I'm just bringing the reality of the last 2 weeks here. The actual turnovers, the almost turnovers, those things are significant, and it's something you got to clean up. It cost them the game against Pittsburgh, and that's the type of stuff you got to clean up. But they're 8-2, right? You're sitting here with the best record in the AFC. Jonathan Taylor was outstanding, explosive runs left and right, including that 83-yarder and 3 touchdowns. And then from a Falcons perspective, it's a tough one, man. Tough one, right? You're facing one of the better teams in the league. You take them to overtime. I thought Penix, his accuracy is just so scattershot.
Yeah.
Missed a couple throws in overtime by a mile. Almost to the point where, like, the second one, I thought he got his arm hit or something, threw it like 3 yards out of bounds. Just very inconsistent with the pass game in Michael Penix right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, as much as this was close, obviously it went to overtime, and the Falcons had opportunities, they kind of, it wasn't as close as it looked. You know what I mean? Like, it was, but only because of weird high leverage plays that went the Falcons' way. Like, they held the Colts on a 4th and 2, where the Colts did that thing of, like, was it 4th and 2 or 4th and short? It's like you do the pitch play to the side, and it always feels bad. Like, it's 4th and 2, just
It's one of those, if you miss one block,
yeah,
you're in
dead.
trouble. There's other runs where if you miss one block, you could still survive.
Right.
Once you put the ball on the edge, if you miss one out of, say, 3 significant blocks, you're in trouble.
Everyone's flowing that way. So if one guy doesn't make the block on the move, right, which is, hard to begin with, it's dead. And that's exactly what happened. So they had a bunch of plays where they had the high leverage stuff to get it that far. It only made it as far as overtime because Michael Badgley missed an extra point and a field goal. So that's 4 points that the Colts should have had that they didn't. Because, extra point should be routine. He also missed short from 53 yards. Like that should be a gimme as well.
Right.
So there's 4 points that weren't on the board for the Colts that should have been. It's hard because some things were good from the Falcons' perspective. Their rookie edge rushers did it again, the other way around this time. James Pierce got the pressure or got the sack, and Jalen Walker scooped it up. It was the other way around the other day. Brandon Dorlus had a third down sack in the red zone. So their young defensive linemen are making plays, this sort of youth movement they've had up front. Drake London looked fantastic. You had this interesting Drake London-Sauce Gardner matchup, which only showed up every now and again because they don't track into the slot. Drake London will line up in the slot sometimes. But you have
Sauce on a two-point
conversion.
Yeah.
Absolutely roasted him. Sauce fell over. You also had a really interesting example of there was a play early in the game where Drake London slips over. It felt like a forced throw anyway, and Sauce drops an interception. It's like, I think a big part of his lack of interceptions is how much man coverage he's played. But that's a play you got to make. That's zone coverage. You had to beat on it the whole way. You broke on it. The guy fell over, so he didn't even challenge you for it, and you just dropped it.
And just to be clear for those who aren't following, usually when you're in man coverage, you don't have eyes on the ball, and you're more likely to have pass breakups than interceptions.
Right.
But like you're saying, it's not like...
But zone, generally, your eyes are on the quarterback the whole way. You're looking at the ball.
Right.
You got to catch those, and that was one you got to catch.
If you want to compare him to the guy that was drafted right next to him, Derek Stingley.
Yeah.
Stingley's
one-handed snag.
Yeah, he has incredible ball skills. Maybe Sauce doesn't, but Sauce does break up a ton of passes. So
the other, there's also that drop by Darnell Mooney late in the game where the Falcons are trying to.
Yeah, that hurts too. So that's how I would sum up the Falcons. We've been doing this over 10 years, and a lot of times we view the game through this player by player, and you want to explain what went right or what went wrong, and you say, well, this player played well, and this thing went right for the team. I think the thing that sums up the Falcons is, Penix gets, strip sacked early on after a drop from Kyle Pitts. Like one of Penix's best throws was the deep crosser to Kyle Pitts very early in the game, puts it right on his hands. Pitts is having a much better season than we've seen. He drops it, and then Penix is strip sacked by Cameron Bynum, and that leads to 7-0, right? So a lot of times what's going wrong with a team, sometimes it's just stacking 2 plays in a row where it's like you screwed up with a drop and then you screwed up with a blitz pickup, right? And one's kind of one Penix has a good play, the next one he has a bad play and he gets strip sacked. So it's not always like, well, all the offense is bad or all the offensive line is bad. And then he has a really nice throw to Mooney. He drops it. Then you get into overtime. Mooney's got 5-10 yards of separation, and Penix is burying it on a deep out, right? So to me, it's just like it's a cop-out to say inconsistency. But a lot of times you describe bad offenses by saying one guy's screwing up on every play.
Yeah.
And it's a different guy. And I think that's one way that you sum up some of the Falcons' struggles over these last few weeks.
This was really interesting, though, because as much as I think the Falcons were a little bit fortunate for it to get as close as it did or to be in the game at that point, when the Colts kicked their field goal to tie it up late in the game, there was still 29 seconds on the clock. And you're like, in this world of field goals from the moon, that's an eternity.
And that's when Mooney...
So then they kick it off. They kick it inbounds to try and, burn some time. Laquan Treadwell, of all people, makes a genuinely impressive special teams tackle to stop what I think would have been a pretty significant return if he hadn't made that tackle. So huge respect to Treadwell. I mean, a former, high first-round wide receiver bust, effectively, still hanging around, elevated to the practice squad, makes a critical special teams tackle to start that drive at the Atlanta 26. That could have been 10, 15, 20 more yards if he doesn't make that tackle. So now you got 25 seconds on the clock. First down from the Atlanta 26 is whatever that was, like a 15-yard pass to Darnell Mooney, who's looking to catch and run and instead doesn't make the catch. Like
Paddle-handed style.
Yeah, starts running before he's actually caught it, drops it. If he makes that catch, I mean, you're immediately talking at the 40. Now you're only going to make it 10 yards to even have a vague prayer at a field goal, maybe 15, whatever. And then the next play, second down, it's an incomplete pass. He's under pressure. It's intentional grounding, and that's basically it done. They then, they end up have that weirdness of, well, it's 10-second runoff, run the clock, blah, blah, blah. But they had a shot. Like that 30 seconds from your own 26 is doable in terms of getting a chance to win this game, and they made a total mess out of it for 2 plays.
I would say that's one thing the Falcons have done a poor job of this season generally is off the top of my head, end of half. Like they had one half where they just had a catch in bounds maybe back in week 3 or 4, just clock ran out on them. Last week against New England, they were on New England's side of the field. Before you know it, it's 3rd and 20, and they're punting on 4th and 20, giving the ball back to New England, who ran out the clock. There's some teams who have done a really nice job at the end of halves, and it feels like the Falcons have done a poor job. Again, I don't think it's one thing. They have open receivers that they're missing. They have open receivers who are dropping it. They have some procedural stuff, and it's all adding up, and that's just playing losing football at the end of the day, and that's why they're 3-6.
What did you make of the volume of Hitler references in the broadcast?
I was unable to listen to a lot of the broadcasts. I was volume down. I didn't know that there were. Well, I heard a bunch of they were going back talking about Jesse Owens in the Olympics and everything.
Yeah, I think we got up to 3 direct references to Hitler, which has to be a record for an NFL game. There's no way we've passed that in a different game. It's a weird thing where it's like,
Where's Josh Dubow on this? Can we get an AP count here?
Per Elias.
Elias, can we dig this up, please?
I've seen quite a lot of games played in that stadium. Now, admittedly, this is the first time the NFL has been there, so there's got to be, I guess, some kind of
That's not the norm. They're like, hey, let me tell you what happened in the late 30s.
I honestly don't remember, hey, look at them score a goal into the end where Hitler was watching Jesse Owens back in the day. Like, what are we talking? Okay, I kind of get that you probably have to bring it up once, but it felt like we were leaning into that quite a lot, more than was necessary.
Because I caught the audio in the first quarter and a half, then I watched on silence for a bit, and I did catch some of the early references. It didn't stand out to me like it did to you. But
remember, what's that famous clip where is it Tom Brenneman who was giving his apology and then just mid apologies so the guy hits felt like the whole thing was that. Where it's like, there's a run by Jonathan Taylor right into the end where Hitler was sitting there with the Third Reich, and what are we? I don't know. Anyway, because they that's a stadium that's been in use for the entire time. Like Hertha Berlin plays there. I think the German national team is plays there sometimes. It's like, I don't remember this being a thing every time. Maybe it's just when the USA plays, I don't know if the USMNT or whatever they call it has played Germany in that stadium.
We'll see what Elias comes back with here when we
get
some.
Sure Josh is working on it right now.
So the Colts, they head to their bye and come back with so Atlanta does not have a bye, which is interesting, right? Am I getting this right? Colts head to their bye. They've got the Chiefs coming out of that. So, again, they've got 2 weeks to prepare for probably their biggest litmus test game. It's everybody's Super Bowl playing the Chiefs. The Falcons do have to come back next week and play the Panthers. So they're coming on. They're 3-6, coming off of a couple heartbreakers, like some close losses against good Patriots and good Colts teams. And now they got to play this 5-5 confusing Panthers team that already waxed them 31-0 in Carolina. Atlanta's running out of time to rectify the season.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.